All right. So welcome guys to One Team University. And last week was very fitting of the name that we chose with Awakening to Your Own Brilliance. I would love to hear from one or two of you of how you applied last week's training into your business and into your lives. It was so incredible having Kathy. She was literally glowing. And I mean, I swear that woman looks better and better every time I see her, but she was really glowing last week. And you know what I think the reason why was her passion. Like, she was so passionate on that call and just so focused on what she is doing and what she wants to accomplish right now with all of us. And it was really, really inspiring to see. But we did talk last week about being highly visible, like even if it's sloppy, to be highly visible. And I'm really glad that Rebecca's on the call tonight, because as we are all working on being highly visible, Rebecca's going to give us some tips and tricks and tools to make it look not so sloppy all the time. Because you guys know I'm a little bit like vulnerable, raw, and real, but that doesn't mean that I can't like clean up my act a little bit here and there. So Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It means the world to us. And thank you guys for jumping on. We know that this is a sacrifice to be here with us. But we truly hope that you understand that we're providing these tools for you so that you can have that ideal life that you want so bad and that you're working so hard to achieve. Good night, baby girl. All right. All right, Rebecca. So first of all, you look absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you. Now that it's announced I'm pregnant.
Oh, I wasn't going to say anything because I'm so scared to ever say anything again.
It is out there.
Well, I was going to say you're glowing, girl.
Flash sweating. Woo!
Woo! So Rebecca can teach you guys a little bit about how not to announce somebody's pregnancy on a Facebook Live. So it's all you, girl. Take it over.
All right, perfect. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on here. This is a topic I'm really passionate about. But just to give you a little background on me, I'm going to very, very briefly share my story. Started the products Isagenix about 5 years ago. I was known, we'll talk about knowables, as that nutrition nerd amongst my friends. I was the girl that they'd send labels to and be like, what do you think about this? Because health has always been a value to me. I lost a loved one about 9 years ago, and I'm just obsessed with it. And we're going to talk about that you don't have to be obsessed with health to be obsessed with Isagenix. But my degree is in journalism, and I actually worked in a daily paper for a few years. So I know that I often get people that will look at my post and are like, oh, you're writing. I'm like, well, understand I did this professionally. So my goal on this call is to give everyone some really tangible takeaways about content creation so that you don't sit down at the computer when it's 10 minutes until it's time to post and feel overwhelmed. I want to give you the tools to create so much content that you're going to be posting multiple times a day, but you're also going to be doing it really authentically, because it's very easy to sometimes wash our social media out with Isagenix, and it looks like we're losing sight of who we are. And of course, we know Isagenix brings out the absolute best in us. We want to make sure we are communicating that. First of all, why is social media so important? And a lot of these topics are going to transcend social media to the real world, but social media is our website. It's our calling card. It's often where people find us, but it is also where, when we meet people face to face, it is where, we send them. It's where, when they're intrigued by who we are or a conversation we had, that they can go to it and, do a little Facebook or Instagram stalking and get a better feel if we are the type of person that they are interested in joining, whether that's in the business or the products or whatever. So the first thing, and this is very much meant to be a workshop call, so hopefully if you guys have notes out or something to write with, that would be excellent. Also, I would love to see your feedback in the chat, because I'm going to be asking a lot of questions aimed at you, and I'm going to share my own kind of answers and then a few answers of people that you might be following or might see. But this is really going to work better and most effectively if you are kind of working through it. So I am going to share a little PDF I made, because this is all about branding and your brand, your knowables, your content. Let me really quickly do a screen share. Now I am actually, here we go. Let me screen share the right thing. I am actually a total tomboy, but I love the color blush. You see I'm wearing it now, and I'm wearing that on purpose because that's one of my knowable colors. soft and feminine, even though I played competitive softball and soccer for years. So your brand, let's talk about your brand versus your business. And actually I'm gonna hide this slide just for a moment because I don't want people to get distracted. But often people think that their brand is Isagenix, and it absolutely is not. Isagenix is your business. It is what you do. And maybe you do that part-time, maybe you do it full-time. But the difference between your brand and your business is what you do, your brand is who you are. Okay? I just want that to sink in. Your business is what you do, your brand is who you are. So your business of what you do, many people do it, right? I mean, there's thousands of us in Isagenix, but even think about people that you go to for a service. Maybe it's your hairstylist, who you go to for a massage. Maybe it is, someone else that you're paying for their services. There's probably a lot of people out there that you even know that are doing the same service or offer the same products. But the reason that you go to that person that you are, a diehard fan of is because of who they are. It's because you resonate with them on some level. Often there's commonality. And so I want everyone to get really comfortable in your personal brand. And this does not mean you need logos. It doesn't mean any of those things. It's really just clarity on how you're showing up so that you don't feel like you have to adopt to be someone else, because we're all very different. Like Trisha, Trisha's brand, when I first heard Trisha's story, I don't know if I heard her story first or I met her first, but it was the refrigerator. She was the refrigerator girl. She sold her fridge. She's a mom. She is a really real person, and what you see is what you get on social media and off. And that's one of the things I love about her, and why we can have fridge girl hashtag candid conversations. Like I said, I am really known for health. There's some other things that we'll go through, but that can make me very different from another leader out there. Let's say Laura Stevens, who is military, who is multiple children, who is, very faith-based. Let's say Mackenzie Arbol, one of my biggest leader, who is very much, not necessarily health obsessed, very much about online shopping, convenience, opportunity, travel for a young person, also military. So let's talk about all of you and who you are versus what you do. So I want everyone to write down here, who are you? Just a little bit about who you are. And you might write down things like mother, wife. You could write down your occupation. You could write down some of your hobbies or skills. But who are you as a person? If you were to ask your best friend, describe me, what would that look like? And again, feel free to pop in the chat here. Okay. And then as you're writing, and secondly is what do you do? If you still have a main thing, you can put that down. I still am a real estate broker. I choose not to do really any real estate. If it falls in my lap, I will occasionally take a friends or family deal. But what do? I do Isagenix, and we're going to talk about within Isagenix how you can really break it down. But who you are versus what you do, right? And the next category is my favorite. All right. So in who you are, what are those things that you are known for? Now, sometimes you're too close to the tree itself because you are you, and you might be thinking that, the fact that you collect magnets from everywhere you go or shot glasses or whatever it is, is a totally normal thing. But what would be those little fun facts or trivia that your friends would know about you? What are you known for? My friends know that I am known for making lists. I will make lists of lists. I collect journals. I'm looking at my office right now. Guys, I'm a list maker. I love making lists of everything. I'm known for organization. I am known for being a collector of resources, whether that's people or things, and I'm going to share some resources at the end of this call. But what are those things that you are known for that is really part of who you are? Maybe you're a dog person or a cat person, or you're plant-based. So list some of those things. What do you love talking about or sharing? Now, obviously, we all love Isagenix. I would encourage you, what are the other things you love? Maybe you love sharing gluten-free recipes. Maybe you love sharing, your favorite beauty products. Maybe it's your favorite websites. What are those things that if you were sitting at a cocktail table or a dinner table with 10 other people and you only knew one of them and you were in conversation, if you heard someone 4 people away talking about something that was something you're passionate about, you'd be like, oh my gosh, yeah. And you would jump in. Write those things down. And again, feel free to toss them in the chat. We'd love to see them. And then what do you love, collect, or live? So what are those things? So maybe it's clothing. I mean, I am like a candle collector. I mean, I literally probably have like 10 candles in my office alone, all soy, crystals, motivational everything, like this. So what are those things that you collect or you love? All right. And now this is where it gets fun. Now we're going to actually make a list because we're just free writing. And don't worry, we will wrap this up into a way that totally makes sense. So next is we're going to go through and we're going to really define a couple of different categories of things. So first is, what is a product you are obsessed with? And if you want to, write down one ISO product and one non-ISO product. Like for me, it's Ionic Supreme. Obviously, I can't drink it right now, being pregnant. I dream about drinking it. I smell it. I kiss my husband when he's drank it. I'm like, Miss Ionic. Like that would be me talking about my milk-blessed adaptogen tea is something that people know about me. But I also love like all clean beauty products. I am a clean beauty product girl. Melinda, I think she meant to say Ionics freak. We can't say that any of the products cure, treat, or prevent any diseases, but we all know that it is amazing to help adapt for stress. So what are the other products? I also love a company, and by the way, I'm not being paid for any of this, obviously, except for Isagenix, but I love a company called Fat and the Moon. It's like an amazing, organic, small batch, wild-crafted company out of Grass Valley, California. And I just share these things, and I'm sure all of you do, especially because you are in the business of sharing. So what are those things that you just share? What is that product that you love? Next is a food. You don't have to have just one. What are those foods that you're obsessed with? Are you like the taco girl? Like for me, like kombucha all day long. Like literally, I got my kombucha here. Are you like, I'm the gluten-free avocado toast girl. What are those things that you absolutely love food-wise, that you're known for, that your favorites to eat, your favorites to make, things you probably take photos of? Next is something that you collect. It could be a collectible, but it's something you collect. For me, it's books. I still occasionally buy books, even though the days of Kindle are making that kind of go away. Like I have always been known for having a huge book collection. So what are those things that are in your home? It's probably the things that your significant other is like, do you really need all of these? And you're like, yes, I do. Hats, scarves, shoes. All right, and then what are some places that you love? Now, these may be places you haven't been, but you're obsessed with. You feel like in a different life, I lived there. It could be places that you love to travel. It could be almost like a staycation place that's even local. For me, it's Carmel, California. We're going there this weekend. It's a special place. That's where I got engaged. Palm Springs, where I got married. I love Europe, but what are those places that you are constantly like, either maybe you had a trip that you got phenomenal photos and you're going flashbacks to them, or it's just a place that you go often. And again, it could be in your absolute hometown. It could be like your favorite coffee shop or your favorite park. Maybe you're a Disney person and you're like one of those annual pass holders. You go to Disney all the time. And then what's a habit? Maybe you're the 5 a.m. club girl. Or you are always going to Orange Theory or Pure Barre or Pilates or yoga. Like it doesn't have to be a workout, but it's something that you do ritually. Meditation, giving, contribution. Maybe you volunteer every week at the same place. So what are those habits? Colors. So I would encourage you, don't pick like, let's say your favorite color, maybe what you wear, but a color that most likely is either in your wardrobe or in your home. So for me, it's some type of blush, but I also do blues and grays. So write down what are those colors. And now ideally these are colors if you wear that should be showing up often in your photos that you're taking. And then lastly is activity. And this is a little bit like habit. These could be things that you love to do. And this could be something that maybe you love, but you're not doing it regularly. Like I love to ballroom dance. It's probably not the best time for me to get back into ballroom dancing because my balance is going to be changing. Reading. What are those activities that if time and money were no option, you would be doing all the time? Maybe it's spending time with your children or your spouse or a relative or a best friend, or it's taking, 3-day weekends and doing road trips. What is that activity that you're constantly doing? And a phrase. Now, not everyone has a signature phrase. I'm trying to, I do I can't think of it. This is something you probably have to go to someone else. But I have 2 friends that are both from Oregon, and they say this, and I don't know anyone else says it. They say, "That's bananas." And by the way, if you're on here and you can go ahead and mute yourself if you don't mind hearing some noise somewhere. But that's bananas. So if there's a phrase that you're always saying, that's probably however you are, whatever you're saying in person is something that you should also be reflecting in your verbiage on social media. Is that helpful to just have some things you're like, this is a list? So now we're going to talk about where you combine those. So just let me give you mine for a moment. I went through a few of them. But so some of the the things I'm obsessed with is travel, my toddler, anything that's around health, organization, tools/resources, what else? Plant-based eating. I mean, that's probably a good place to start. So next is, let's look at categories and topics. And where do these combine? So I'm not just going to talk about, let's say, my travel or my toddler, but I might mix those topics, like traveling with a toddler, traveling and staying healthy, or healthy food on the go when you're, in places, different places, keeping a toddler healthy, or, raising a plant-based toddler. There's so many, organization while traveling, things like how do you save time while traveling, little secret tips and tricks. So there's so many categories that are going to go together out of the things that you just shared. You might realize that if you love to work out at, a certain place, that you're always wearing like the same brand of clothing, or you're always wearing the same color. But think about those categories and topics that just naturally go together, right? And now, before we get into calendaring this out, why is this so important? It's because at the end of the day, people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. And if you have commonalities with other people, I'm sure if you are a dog person, you get this, or a cat person. If you're a dog person and you're like walking your dog and you see someone that you know from maybe casually, and they're walking their dog and you didn't know they're a dog person, they're your new best friend, right? Or if you find out, like, I have friends that both of them have twins, and they're like, oh my gosh, twin moms. So there's certain areas that you have in common with other people that you're not even aware of. And the more that you talk about that commonality, or the more that you talk about that passion of yours, they are going to, one, think about it when they think about you, or think about you when they see that whatever that thing is. But also they're going to feel like they know you more. And that's really what we want to do, is we want to authentically share who we are and let people get to know us so that they like us and they trust us and they do business with us. So the importance of calendaring. How many of you, and I know there's only a few of you that are showing, but look, maybe just say I in the chat. How many of you sometimes struggle with coming up with content on social media? Whether it's a post or a story, but you struggle with, like, what should I post? How much should I post about business? How much should I post about product? What should I post about me? How real should I be? Doesn't everyone, I think, and obviously the more that we do it, the better that we get and the more comfortable we get. But I want to give everyone some resources so that you don't struggle with this anymore. So all of these things we just went through, these are what we call your knowables. They are things about you that are things that you live and breathe. And it also makes it really easy because guess what? If you're like, hey, one of my knowables is I love to go to Pure Barre, the more that you do that, if you're posting about it on social media, you are posting about your life. What doesn't work is if you're following someone that, let's say an ICE millionaire, they're killing it, their social media is amazing, and you idolize them, but they have different habits and passions than you, and you feel like you have to change you. When you're showing up as the best version of yourself, that is when people are going to respond to you. When you're in that energy, when you're high on your energy, that is when you're going to be showing up, and also offline as well. So you want to be posting about whatever online that is who you are offline. So we're going to now talk about weekly calendar. Ideally, on kind of Monday through Friday, you should be posting on Facebook at least twice a day. I'm a poor example of this right now because since I had just announced my pregnancy yesterday, and I hadn't been feeling good. And not feeling good when your value is health, and you're in a health and wellness company, and if you can't show up feeling great on a Facebook Live or an Insta story, it's really out of alignment. So I posted less over the last 10 or 12 weeks. I'm going to talk about that in some of my next posts about that value of health. But Facebook, 2 times a day, Monday through Friday, maybe once a day on the weekends. And of course, we know that Sunday nights are great for power posts. On Instagram, the Instagram algorithm has changed a little bit. So Instagram, it's about 5 to 6 times a week and just really good content. You don't need to be posting multiple times a day, though doing Insta stories or Facebook stories or Insta Lives, IG stories, whatever you want to call it, is a phenomenal way to get engagement. And that absolutely can not only get you in front of more people, because of the algorithm, but also it's going to introduce you to people that you don't necessarily know. But most importantly, the importance of going live is that people really get to see you in a 3-dimensional way. They get to know you a little bit more. They're probably going to see more of your real personality, not just what's kind of crafted and curated. And you want that. I mean, you want people that are going to get on the phone with you and they are getting the same person on the phone that they are in an Instagram story or in a Facebook Live, right? Okay, so weekly calendars. Let's talk about that. So if everyone can just write down, and I'm going to kind of give you an idea on a weekly calendars. If anybody wants this, I will just shoot me a Facebook message. I'll send you a copy of this. It just kind of goes through. It's all my colors and kind of my knowables. So like when I did this, like my knowable is working with other women. It's women collaboration. I call my husband the big guy because he's 6'8". So he's kind of known as that. I call my son the little guy. Again, travel, this is where is that? These are both in France. Health, being at a market, yoga, so light and bright. So weekly calendars, I want everyone to come up with a topic each day. Just one. I mean, if you have lots of them, you can come up with 2. But for example, maybe it is a motivation Monday, but you're giving some type of tool you use for motivation. You don't need to hashtag it. You just need to have it in your mind, like this is the theme of the day, so that it makes it so much easier to create content. And we'll talk about some ideas of how to create content and when. Tuesday, I like to do Tip Tuesday. What is a tool or resource I can give someone on Tuesday? Or it could be Travel Tuesday. It could be, you don't have to make it, the words don't have to be the same. It's whatever works for you. Maybe Mondays, if you're working ISA full time, maybe you do 3-day weekend Mondays, and maybe you'll be working your business, but it's a day that you show what you're out and about doing when everyone else is at work, hating their lives. Not everyone. Some people love what they do. They're just not being paid enough for it. Wednesday. Wellness Wednesday is an easy one. How are you incorporating wellness in? Thursday, Friday, etc. But understand that your Monday through Thursday is probably going to be the time that you are going to get the most engagement. And then Sunday night. Bye, Allie. We got some East Coast people on this call. Mm-hmm. And I would love, you guys, share here, because if you're going to be sharing on social media, share here some ideas. And if you have any questions, I am happy to soundboard this. But what are your ideas? So I went through my activities earlier. So I love doing, for me, I think a lot of people are usually putting in long days on Mondays. So Monday happy hour. I call it happy hour. It's with my toddler because I shut down my workday by 4 p.m. So when most people are in traffic, I'm showing something I'm out doing with my toddler. And maybe I don't post it at 4, but I talk about loving spending the afternoons with him. Tip Tuesday. I love doing Motivation Monday because I feel like most people are not in maybe the greatest place on Monday.
Watching a work video.
Oh, Sybil, if you could mute your phone, dear.
Watching.
And we have someone on an iPhone that if they can mute their phone, that would be super helpful. I don't have the host controls though. Okay, so Tuesday, pick a topic. What is it that you want to give tips on? It should be something that you feel really comfortable on. The idea of this is that you don't need to go out and research your post. You don't need to go read magazines. In fact, today I had all these magazines I had not gotten rid of. There was 70 of them. It was mostly health, a couple travel. And I'm like, oh, this would be great to go through and find cool stuff and content. I'm like, I got rid of them. I donated them today. I said, I don't need to go look in a magazine to talk with passion about something I am passionate about. And neither should any of you. So Music Monday, I love that. It could, that's a great source of engagement too. Posts don't always need to be like, let me tell you a story about my life and what's going on. It can be a question. It can be like, jam into this favorite song. Elizabeth posts this. What's your favorite Monday commute music? Or if you don't commute, if you're work from home or like me, then this is what I love to like start my day in my office with. Ask a question because your audience wants to engage with you. So don't always just be telling them things, be asking them things as well. It also is, if you're asking for help on something, it's a great way to collect resources to later share on a Tip Tuesday, right? Because that's what we want to do, is we want to bring value. Okay, everyone like feeling pretty good about understanding what knowables are and feeling like, oh, these are some things that I could really easily talk about. The other thing is, what in your life do you want to do more of? Maybe like, I always wanted to learn how to make my own kombucha. Maybe there's something you're like, okay, maybe I want to learn how to braid my hair. Whatever that thing is that you want to learn or that you're excited about, or maybe it's something you haven't done in a long time, then go learn to do that and talk about it. I love that, Elizabeth. She said she had a Facebook post today asking mamas for a hashtag of something they say all the time to the kids. That would be a really funny one, especially because moms love to share. So next, I want to talk about Isagenix, okay? Obviously, a lot of these posts, you're going to find ways to weave Isagenix into it. But what I so often see people doing is talking about 24-gram protein shakes, a denatured way. Most people just don't care. Most people don't know what it is. So if you're going to do a post about, we're going to talk about kind of the good and the bad of, not the bad, the good and they can work on a posting. So keep your pencil out and I'm going to ask some questions. So first of all, or type it in the chat and copy and paste it. What did you come to Isagenix for? Like when you, not what did you experience, but what did you come in for? And I would say for most of us, it was probably weight loss, maybe energy. Okay. Few people that started out naturally as business builders. What did you want to get out of it? What would you have considered a success? Okay. Okay, to get wellness and financial freedom. Awesome, Melinda. You started looking at the opportunity. You're ahead of most of us. And we're going to break this down. I use stickies all the time. That should be another knowable. I'm like sticky notes everywhere all over my windows. Because this is where, especially if you've got someone on your team that's going, yeah, but I'm not. Oh, I love that, Sybil. Thank you for sharing. They're saying, well, I don't have a lot of weight to lose. I don't know if I can share this because I'm just not going to have the story that other people have. And that's something Lindsay Hoffbauer could have said. She lost 5 pounds, just got a better 6-pack. But I want to give you some tools here so that when you are sharing, whether it's in your stories or your posts, that you can do it in a way that never feels like you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over, right? So the first category that we're going to do, and this is what you experience with Isagenix, is what changed in your health. Now, please keep it compliant if you're sharing, but this isn't what you got in for. This is what you realize. And I'm just going to share mine, and if these are any of yours, please write them down. And sorry, Brenda Hartman, can you please mute your phone? iPhone and Samsung, can you please all mute your phones? We've got some background noise. Thank you so much. So health, first category. This is the easiest one. Now, of course, weight loss is one that a lot of people experience. Better hair, skin, and nails. Less tummy troubles, more regularity, more energy, more mental clarity, more patience, better sleep. Oh gosh, type them in if you had something that you experienced with health in addition to any of these. Less cravings. Ooh, yeah, libido, Bethany, love it. Libido, what else? Oh, maybe, how do we say this compliantly? Less issues around the female time of the month. And actually, convenience, we're not even going to get into convenience yet, but Katrina, we're gonna come back to that because, yes, we're going to talk a lot about convenience. So portion control. I mean, these are just some of the things for health. And then maybe if there's something on there that you haven't seen yet that you've helped someone else with, like more muscle, better recovery. Okay, moods, better moods. Okay, more performance. I mean, there's so many things. Look at this. That is and healthy aging.
Okay.
No.
We're gonna have to do your breath.
Okay, sorry, there's someone that's not muted. It's either Samsung. Yeah, it's the Samsung. Here we go. Thank you. Healthy aging. So that's about 12 things that you can talk about. This is kind of like if you've ever gone to UIA, they really talk about a 30-second story only having one solution. You could have a 30-second story around pooping. I'm certified nutrition, so I love to talk about pooping, but like a lot of people don't talk about it, but there's a lot of people struggling with it. You could talk to someone about how great your poops are now, and they would probably be like, wow, okay. I mean, it's really hard not to be passionate about poop, right? So what are those things that have improved? And this is just in health. Okay, next category. Time. How has Isagenix changed time in your life? Now, this is before income. Let's just start with the products themselves. So, more out of town shutdown because of Isoflush. I love Isoflush. So, okay, less time grocery shopping, right? I mean, I don't throw food away. Not as much time, but I can't stand throwing food away. Less dishes, love that. What about not thinking about what you're going to eat next? Do you remember when you first start icing, you're like, I realize I have so much more mental space because I'm not thinking multiple times throughout the day. Savings, not thinking about what I'll eat next. What about not worrying about how you're going to feel? How many people feel like they've got multiple extra hours in the day on cleanse day? Time gained. Okay, less visits to healthcare providers, maybe. So just think about all those things as far as time, because time is a huge one. I mean, that's something that people, we can't make more of. All right, next is, and we said convenience as well. I mean, convenience is super easy. It is so easy to make a toddler a shake instead of not that he doesn't get to eat other food, but he gets a shake every morning for breakfast before his toast or whatever else he's eating. And he drinks it and we don't argue. I can't even imagine having to argue with a kid about food. So what about, let's talk about community. We didn't even talk about things like, by the way, on health, confidence, community. Let's talk about community, because this is one that I think goes so under talked about, is how many people do you have supporting you? The support, the friendships, the fun, the personal development with people, the events, the celebration, and not just the event, but the celebrations themselves. All of these things. I mean, some people met their significant others through Isagenix. So community. What about, let's talk now about money. So this could be because you're sharing the opportunity, but we talked about, saving money from grocery shopping. You're saving time, you're saving money. I mean, if you're someone that gets paid hourly and you're not having to leave for an hour, to go get lunch, you could be working more or shortening your day. So saving money from grocery shopping, definitely while traveling. What about eating for free? And then of course, free. And then of course, the ability to earn income. But there's so many different areas, is my point, of Isagenix that go beyond health. And each of these different areas can be a post. So I'd highly encourage you to write down every single benefit that you have received. Maybe it's more travel. Maybe it's more possibility. I mean, all of these things, every one of them is an individual post. So now you've got, when you're talking about Isagenix, you've got like 50 different things or 40 different things that you could have a story about. And if you're posting 10 times a week, let's say on Facebook, I would absolutely recommend 1 out of 5 posts, you're doing some type of post about Isagenix. Again, it can be woven in there with something else. So if I'm doing my, traveling with a toddler, I'm absolutely going to talk about the convenience of being able to, pick him up after school and having a harvest in. It's like so nice to give him something that he loves, that he can eat in the car without making a mess. And I know that he's being well fed. Or taking my shakes to Europe knowing as someone that's gluten-free and dairy-free that I was going to have clean nutrition that didn't cost an arm and a leg. I mean, there's so many ways to weave it in with your knowables, with what's going on in your life. Yes, the Wilkins, the best. So now when you're talking about ISA, you have all of these benefits. Don't focus on the feature. The feature is the protein, the this, the cold process. Focus on the benefit, because that's what people want, right? Half the time they don't care what the feature is, as long as they are getting a benefit out of it. So now you've all got knowables. You've got, let's say 5 to 8 things about yourself. You've got categories that you can combine them in different ways. What about not talking ISA, other ideas on live? So Katrina, can you maybe unmute yourself and let me know exactly what you're talking about there?
Just like other like subjects, like to put in the subject line instead of like, oh, like I'm making protein balls and, I don't.
So when you're doing, captions or titles are insanely important because they're what attract people. So
right.
Focusing on the benefit.
Sorry, I keep on interrupting, but like the subject obviously has to like align with what you're going to talk about. So I'm just thinking like, obviously I use the protein in the protein balls, but like I don't want to always talk about Isagenix on live. So
So think about when you're going to a newsstand, what do they say in articles that makes you want to open the magazine and read them, right? It needs to be something that's catchy. It needs to be something that's interesting, and it shouldn't be giving away exactly what you're doing, but it should be hinting at it. So it could be like the healthy snack that my kids always ask for more of, or 5-minute treats you would swear are bad for you but aren't. I mean, those are just a couple of ideas. So have some fun with it. Play around with, and again, not just in your ISO stories, but in your other stories. I mean, if I posted like the number 1 airport trick to save time that nobody knows, when you guys all want to listen to it, and I'll tell you what it is right now. It's as long as you have liquid over 3.4 ounces, if you see a long line at the counter to check in, as long as you have the e-ticket, you can actually take your luggage through security. It's called valeting. It has to fit. It can't be like insanely oversized. Take it through security. You walk it right up to the gate, and you say, I'd like to valet my luggage. It's the same thing that they do when the plane's full, where they'll just take your luggage and store it. Most airlines don't want to deal with actually taking your credit card at the gate. So 1, you can typically get your luggage on for free if it's not Southwest. But 2 is you can entirely avoid that first line. You only then deal with security. So that's like my number 1 tip. And now I don't ever take my luggage up to the front because I always just valet. And it's also usually the first off. So there's just all these like cool little tricks. But if I shared number 1 travel tip to save time that nobody knows, people would watch that story. Now I'm like, I gotta do that again. So have fun with your captions or your stories. Think about them before you're doing them. And one thing I would encourage you, especially if you're doing a live, stories are a little different because they can be very short, but if you're doing a live, whether it's on Facebook or it's on Instagram, write it out. I do bullet points, like even for the call tonight. I just want to have some ideas about what I want to cover. Don't make it word for word. But your title and then a couple of bullet points. Typically in a story, you want to tell someone what you're going to tell them, and then tell them it, and then tell them what you told them. It's like a sandwich, right? You got your crust on each side, and then you got your filling in the middle. So that's what you want to do to really tell a story well. I had a Facebook Live that went pretty viral. I think it like 19 or 20,000 views, and I don't normally have that many. I was reading a book about child nutrition. This is what I read for fun. And there was a section on cereal. And I don't eat cereal because I'm gluten-free. And it's just, why would I eat cereal when I have shakes? But I was just flipping through the section. I saw this thing. It was like all these facts about cereal. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is insane. People need to know about this. So I titled the video, 7 reasons your cereal is killing you. And it went nuts because people were like, oh my gosh, why is my cereal killing me? And I went through the different facts in it with notes. But that type of title, you don't want to be inflammatory on everything, and you always want to be truthful in what you're saying. But that's going to get people's attention if you have an interesting title. The same thing if you're doing a post. The best way to do a post is basically to do a mini blog. And the format for a blog is the first line is kind of like and I don't always do this, but it's kind of like my struggle, and it's usually what the person's going to connect with. And then the second paragraph or part is usually, it's starting to talk about the solution. And then the third is a wrap up. But basically it could be like, instead of saying, I remember those days when I used to deal with cravings. Okay. You don't want to talk about it like that. You'd be like, have you ever finished a meal and you're full, but you can't stop eating until you eat some chocolate? I was totally that way. I used to have to eat dark chocolate after every meal, or I would just keep eating, right? You're like, oh, I'm drawn in. I can understand that. I can appeal to that. And then the next line is, I thought that was going to be my life forever. I assumed it was genetic. And then I found out it wasn't. I can't believe that this is, no longer something I deal with. Maybe talk about cleansing and how it resets your hormones, or not your hormones, your taste buds and your cravings, and then say, some anecdote at the end. But always try to connect them or hook them in that first 1 to 2 sentences, because people will want to read it. All right. I know that we're wrapping up. I want to save a few minutes for questions, but then I want to go into some resources for social media that everyone can use. It'll make your life a little easier. So any questions, if anybody just wants some help right now coming up with our topics, I'd be happy to do that. Anyone? No one? You guys just are so good. You've been taking so many notes. So let me give you a few resources. And no, there's always constantly different things that are coming out there that are phenomenal to use to, make your life easier when it comes to social media. Let's see, I took a screenshot of this earlier today, just trying to find it. Oh, here we go. So number one is, if you're looking for phenomenal images, I'm going to give you a resource. It is called unsplash.com. And really quickly, let me just share my screen and blow everyone's mind. This is a site, instead of like grabbing photos off of Google that we don't own, please respect the photographer and utilize a site like Unsplash, where they give the credits or the rights away. So for example, let's just say I look up smoothie, because shake may not be in there. Here are all high resolution smoothie/shake photos. Now, of course, you're going to want to look at one that looks like ours that you can just grab. Okay, they're beautiful. I mean, this is a very simple one. You can look up vegan. I mean, it doesn't have to be that, you're a vegan, but these are just some different words. And it'll give you other things like vegetarian, vegetable, healthy. Just some great flat lays. No, it doesn't have to be all food. It could be like yoga. And it will just give you these beautiful pictures. Now, what I encourage you to do is, if your normal photos aren't phenomenally high quality, pick ones that look more like photos you would take, because you don't want to have like these photos that are so obviously not yours. When I weave those into my social media, and I'm going to pull my Instagram really quickly, I make sure that they look like photos I could have actually taken. I do have a little bit of advantage, I just want to say, is because one, I do have a photography background in journalism. And second, my best friend / business partner is a professional photographer, and we shoot all the time. But I'm going to really quickly share my Insta. Okay, so this is an Unsplash photo, but I went with a similar color palette. So these are all legit photos of mine. See, I'm trying to find another Unsplash one. I haven't been using them as much as I used to. Here's one. That is just a San Francisco photo. You can find it if you're going to places. I was traveling on my trip, and okay, let's go down a little bit more. Like, that's a real photo I took, but that is not. I didn't take that one. I didn't take this one. But it looks in the same vein, and I'll explain why it does. I mean, it looks like it could still have been in that group. I took this one. I did not take either of these. But you wouldn't naturally look at it and say, oh, that photo isn't real. I think I grabbed that one too. That one's an Unsplash. Okay, so the second thing is an app. And there's a bunch of different ones out here, but this is just the one that I find the easiest, called Color Story. And Color Story is where you can put a very light filter over every photo. And so the great thing about this is, if you're choosing the same filter for your own pictures. Then you put that over your unsplash photo, if you grab a stock image, and it will give it kind of the same look. So again, let me just share the Instagram again. So if you look at these, like, see how they all kind of have the similar hues and tones? It's because and you can adjust it how much the filter goes, but it's because I was kind of using the same thing to pull it out. Now, I go through changes where then I'm like, okay, I'm more white or more gray or I'm more pink. I'm just kind of playing around with it. But it will give you more consistency in your images. And this is more of an Instagram tool. So if you are between like 20 and 40, you're going to use Instagram more. If you're over 40, honestly, I should say it depends on who your market is, because you could be, I'm 30, almost 39, but I attract women that are typically like 22 to 30, 33. So I am using Instagram often because my audience is on Instagram. But if your audience isn't on Instagram, this may not be as important, but it's still nice to have cohesive photos. Facebook does not care as much about visual. Okay, the next one is, let's see, called Unfold. If you are doing Instagram stories, Unfold is a really great app. Show my Instagram one more time. That you can just download on your phone. Oh, it's not going to show my stories. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Well, if you follow me, it goes. It basically gives you little templates that you can drop your pictures in. It just looks really nice and it looks like a story. And then there's one other one called easel.com. And that one, and just grab these. That one allows you to create really pretty graphics if you're doing more work. Oops. I'm like, what is that noise? That's my stories pulling up. Okay, that was my child. Let me close this. Okay, so Katrina asked, what are good spots to take photos for Insta? You know, the thing about photography is it doesn't, like, people think that you have to have these complicated backgrounds. You do not. You just need really good light. So ideally facing a window, like I'm facing a ring light right now since it's dark, but I sit in front of my window and that is where I work, but also just get good light for photos. I mean, if you can get good at taking photos of yourself, it's going to very much help your social media. And it does not mean that you need a beautiful social media to run an incredible Isagenix business at the end of the day. And I cannot wait for Lindsay to train. Like, at the end of the day, IPAs are what is going to make it work, right? You could have the best social media in the world, but if you're not doing the actions of connecting and following up with people, it's not going to matter. Like, social media will just help attract more people. And again, give you great content. And I think that's it for resources. I don't want to overwhelm everyone. I mean, if you just use Unsplash for pretty pictures and you use Color Story, the last thing I was going to show you, just to give an example, you know, I think the shake posts are the things that, like, people are like, oh, shake posts are overdone. So I want to share one that I did the other day. And you guys can feel free. I mean, one thing I will say as a journalist, don't copy and paste and use someone's post exactly as it is. That is plagiarism. Okay. However, what you absolutely can do is grab it, copy it, tweak it to you. And I don't mean tweak one or two words, but like make it yours. If you want to use the same format, absolutely go for it. Just don't literally just copy and paste. But I think someone said copy, paste, tweak. So this post, feel free to grab it and make your own version of it. I was doing the shake picture, and that's from Unsplash, because my shakes never look that pretty. I could make them look that pretty, and I know how to photograph them, but I just don't have the patience. I have a 2-year-old, come on. And I just said every darn day. You know, I get asked if I get tired of drinking my smoothies. I called it smoothies because I think shake sounds really proteiny, and people are like, oh, shake program. So I usually say smoothie. And I just go through it. I don't get tired of feeling great. I don't get tired of not worrying if I'm going to have a stomach ache. I don't get tired of feeling nourished. So I actually go through a lot of the benefits that I just walked you through. I don't get tired of having convenient nutrition. I'm walking through the benefits, not the features. I never talk about the fact it's plant-based, I don't think. I never talk about the fact there's 24 grams of protein. I never talk about the fact it's cold processed. All these things that I love and are amazing, but they're a feature, not a benefit. And then I talk about, you know, like, I don't get tired of the good things in my life, like my husband, you know, working for myself, my heart beating, meditating, sushi, cacao, pressed juice. Don't just talk about Isagenix food. Talk about all the food you love, etc. So that is a way to do a shake post that is not about the product. It is about the solution. And of course, you can always do convenience, etc. But feel free to grab that and utilize it. Because I think that was I felt creative that day. Any other questions before? Yes, sweet potato fries. I had them today for lunch. And that's another thing just with balance. As much as I'm a health nut, like I want to show people there's a balance. I was posting pictures of my gluten-free, organic, vegan donuts I had this last weekend in Portland, and then pizza. I'm like, listen, yeah, 95% of the time I eat like a neurotic person, but 5% of the time I eat food that looks like junk food. It's just the healthier version of it. Any other questions? I would love to hear feedback. Was this helpful to give you ideas? Okay, last tip. When do you write content? Do not write your content. And when I say content, I mean your Facebook post, your Instagram post. Do not write it 10 minutes before you need to post it. Okay, I'm going to give one more tool. The best time, what do you do that inspires you? For me, I know the best time to write is either right after I meditate or right after a workout class. When I am working out, especially something like Soul Cycle, it's inspirational. I'm like, yeah, I am going through my mind, like going, okay, idea number 1, idea number 2, idea number 3, and idea number 4. And I get out of class, I literally go out before I do anything else, even before my shake. I go and I just write in my phone bullet points of ideas, because I get stuff from the instructors. I'm like, oh, that's so good. And I'm going to take that idea and I'm going to place it with a story or this something that happened. And so I get all these great ideas. When you've got your knowables, you can literally create a Google Doc and you can be like, my Monday topics, my Tuesday topics, my Wednesday. And when you do a writing session, just dump ideas in there. You can always tweak it later before you post it. But write when you are inspired. So do whatever you need to be inspired. I promise you, if you go and get inspired and then you sit down for an hour, 1 hour a week, reading a book. I mean, if anyone's read The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, it is one of my favorite books. And he walks through like kind of what you do in a morning, and it's basically savers, it's silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, movement, reading, and script, which is writing. So when I actually am consistent about doing that, I usually read something as simple as this. It's a good book, Miracles Now by Gabby Bernstein. This is literally what it is. It's like 1.5 pages. I just grabbed one. This is Bust Through the Blocks of Breath with Fire. So there's these super short little things. I will read one of those and I'll come up with 2 to 3 Facebook posts. And exactly, Lindsay, like you said, edit it later so you don't forget the idea. Just get in enough meat of it that you're not going to forget it, and then come back later. So write when you're really inspired and then come back, and you can tweak it. But if you spend an hour a week writing, I promise you will probably be able to plan out your content. One thing I do, not for my personal account, but because sometimes I'm just inspired in the moment and I will shelve whatever I had planned because I want to be totally authentic with how I feel. But you will feel authentic in what you're writing if you're fired up. You will not feel authentic if you are struggling to come up with a post because you should. Lindsay said, almost everything I post just came to me that day because I know my knowables. I love it. And the last tool, if you are using Instagram, is called Planoly. And let me pull up my account. Planoly is more for visual, even though you absolutely can plan it out. I used to feel like, oh, if you're planning your post out, it's not authentic. I'm like, people, listen, there's nothing more important than being organized, especially in this business. So just plan it out, because I would much rather be able to spend the evening with my son than sitting on social media trying to write something. So I will pull up Planoly. And what I do is you can dump all of your photos. I have a lot of photos. So you can dump all of your photos into this. So let me just scroll through. Again, I tend to have a lot of photos because my best friend is a photographer. And this is like 2 years of photos. Believe me, I will be posting photos from 1.5 years ago until I am so pregnant that it's like obvious. Oh, there's a picture I was looking for today of my son. So I'm almost done scrolling to the bottom, but it will show my last posts. Some of these are unsplash pictures. Almost there. Okay, here we go. So these are showing my last couple of posts. And it also runs great analytics and engagements. I think you can get it for free up to like 30 posts. And I think it's $8 or $9 a month. So here's my last couple posts. Now I'm planning out my post for today and I'm like, okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to do a post of my husband? I'm like, no. And I'm very visual. So I'm like, that looks too similar. Maybe I'll do this one because I like the greens. So I will actually play around really visually. The last tip, really the last one I'm going to give because it's almost 8:30. Do not post the same thing on Facebook and Instagram at the same time. I used to do that because I was like, oh, it's easy. Because a lot of us have the same audience on both places, right? So when we post on one and they see it, they like it, they engage with it, and then they see it on Facebook, they're going to scroll right through it, which means you're going to have lower engagement, which means you're going to be seen by less people. So I plan out my Planoly for visual, and I plan out my Facebook more for timing, but I might do a post on Monday in Facebook that I don't do until Thursday on Instagram. So you can really play around with that. And as you get better and better at scheduling or planning your stuff out. But the one that I just recently did that I did need to do at the same time was my maternity post. But even then, I'll show you, I use different photos. Now they're the same thing. So this is the photo I did on Facebook, and it's more of like a close shot. I did the same exact post. It was very short. But then I use this one on Instagram. So same post, different photos. Why? Because if there's different photos, people will probably look at both of them. So if you are doing a big power post that you want to do at the same time because it's an announcement of some type, then just use a different photo. I would recommend everyone, one investment you should make is some great photos. And I do not do photos for, I'm not for hire, so this is just a tip. But find a photographer or get someone that's good at photos, do a collab. Maybe you can trade them for health coaching or something. But get some really good lifestyle photos. Ideally a couple times a year, especially if this business is your main thing. Or if you can talk your spouse into being an Insta husband, mine, I cannot. Or like learn to set up a timer. I mean, Mackenzie Arbull has phenomenal photography, and most of it, she did a lot of it on her own. So figure out, what you need to do. Don't go buy a bunch of expensive equipment. An iPhone is often totally sufficient. But where was I going with that? This is mommy brain speaking. Do use good photos. Do use different photos. If you have a great post that's a power post, the best shot you can have is a headshot, especially if you're smiling. People will respond with a smiling photo. So I don't find a picture and then write the post. I write the post and then I find a picture that evokes whatever I'm going for. Okay. So that can be helpful. And now that you have Unsplash, you can just be like, I'm going to write a post today about travel, and I'm going to go search travel or airlines or whatever and write a great, you've already got your post written. You find the one that looks good in your Instagram grid and that you like. Okay, I think that's all I have, unless anyone has any questions. If you do, I would be happy to answer them. Perfect. I know this was a lot of nuts and bolts and probably less it's motivating, but I wanted to be very resource driven this evening. And I am looking forward to everyone really utilizing this. The last thing is it's great to do in Facebook Messenger, maybe a little engagement pod. You could do it on Instagram too, and have 5 to 7 people in there or 8 to 10 people in there. And whenever you post, drop in a heart or a comment, and then everyone goes and interacts with that. So you go and like it and comment on it. Make sure you're always using at least 4 words. Emotion or emoticons do not count, or punctuation, but interact on those posts. And what will happen is if people are pretty responsive and interact quickly, that's going to push you up in the algorithm so more people will see it. The other thing is on Facebook, if you're about to do a Facebook post, right before you do it, especially a power post, go look at your prospect list of your top 10 to 12 people. Go in really quickly, like their last 2 photos, comment on them, and then do your post, because it's going to show up in their feed, and then they're going to go to your post. So you want it to be fresh on their mind. The last thing is for prospecting, when you're interacting with someone's stuff, it's easy to interact with the last 2, but what I love doing is going to someone's profile photo and hitting back so it goes to older ones and interact with some old stuff. Or lastly, on your own Facebook, if you've got some phenomenal transformation photos, maybe they're from 3 years ago, 4 years ago, maybe they're your first ones that you have had a lot of interaction with, but you haven't for a long time, talk to someone about it and be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to find this photo to share with you, tag them in it, and that's going to bump that photo up on your feed. I did this a few times with the transformation. I had like a bunch of engagement, and a year later I went back and tagged like 1 or 2 people like, oh, this is what I was telling you about. And all of a sudden it went back and got another 50 likes or 70 likes and 20 comments and got some enrollments out of it. So definitely go back to some old photos. And that's me, it's totally fine. They'll be flattered you're stalking them. I'm always flattered when someone Facebook stalks me. So, and that is it. It's been an hour. I'm going to close it out. I hope everyone has the best night. I think that, let's see, who will be closed? Trisha, you can end the call, and please share this if you feel like it was a good value with your teams, because one of the best things Isagenix has outside of the products, compensation, the culture, the company, all these things, is I feel like we are one of the best companies about really being authentic on social media and not just posting sales stuff. Who wants to try my sample? I think we do a really good job of it, and I think we can continue to do that. And hopefully even people in other companies will learn from us, because we want to elevate not just ourselves, but everyone around us in network marketing. So have a wonderful night. Bye, everyone.